Okay, let's we start to discuss about that our second last topic, which is nothing but the transducer. I think in the previous session, we discussed that the strain gauge. Now, let me try to revise quickly about the strain gauge. The basic principle behind the strain gauge is if the metallic wire is stretched or compressed, its dimension is going to be changed. And when the dimension it changes, in turns the resistance of that wire it going to be changed. And this change in resistance is always directly proportional to the applied force, pressure, weight on that wire is there. So in this way, the change in resistance, it can be measured in terms of electric voltage. And for that, the strain gauge is always connected in a Wheatstone meter bridge. In the Wheatstone meter bridge, the one side of the Wheatstone meter bridge is always active strain gauge, and another side is the dummy strain gauge, which is required to balance the bridge quickly. Initially, we always balance the bridge so that output voltage is 0. It means that no force is applied on the strain gauge. But when the force is applied on that active strain gauge, its resistance is a change according to that applied force, and you will get that output voltage. In this way, the output voltage it can be measured. Now, till now, what the things we discussed about the type of a transducer. Now just see that number one, we discussed that first LVDT, linear variable differential transformer, which is passive, inductive, electrical transducer. Is it right? Why it is called as a passive? External energy source is required. Why it is called as an inductive? The two inductive coils are used in the construction of LVDT. Why it is called as a electrical? Output energy form is a electrical, and which is used for the measurement of displacement. Is it right? Then second one, we discussed that reluctance pulse pickup. Reluctance pulse pickup. Pickup is the another one name of the transducer. This also a passive, inductive, electrical type of a transducer, and which is also used for the measurement of a displacement. Then third one, we discussed that, which is nothing but strain gauge, which is also passive, resistive, electrical transducer. Electrical transducers, and it can be used for the measurement of force, pressure, weight, etc. And now the fourth type of strain gauge, we call it a load cell, and this load cell is the application of bonded wire strain gauge. Bonded wire strain gauge. It means that the load cell is nothing but the strain gauge. The same, whatever the basic principle behind the strain gauge is there, the same basic principle is applicable to that load cell. That's why the very important sentence I have written here about that the load cell, which is nothing but the bonded wire strain gauge, is the application of a bonded wire strain gauge. That's why I can also write that the load cell is also passive, resistive, electrical transducer. And main application of the load cell is which is used for extremely heavy load. Extremely heavy load. म्हणजे जर आपल्याला extremely heavy load measure करायचं असेल, then that time the bonded or unbonded strain gauge are not sufficient. Their operating range is not sufficient. So that time the special type of a strain gauge is designed by using the strain gauge. We call it a load cell is that. And with the help of that load cell, it is possible to measure the extremely heavy load is that. It means that the main application of a load cell is to measure the weight, extremely heavy load, extremely heavy weight. And as it is the example, as it is the application of a strain gauge, it means that it is the passive because that external energy source is required. It's a resistive because applied weight will change the resistance. And why it is called as electrical? It's an output form of a load cell is an electrical signal. Get it, my point? And now see that the basic construction of that load cell is that. So here in this diagram, I have shown that the front side cut section view of that the load cell is that. Now if you observe that here this shaded portion is nothing but the diaphragm on which you can actually apply the extremely heavy load. And this diaphragm is connected to the steel bar, and on that steel bar actually total 4 bonded wire strain gauges are connected. Bonded wire strain gauge. Now if you observe in the diagram from the front side, you can observe that 1 and 2 bonded wire strain gauge, but behind that, because it's a cut sectional view, behind that another 2 bonded wire strain gauges are always present. It means that total of 4 bonded wire strain gauges are mounted on the steel bar, and the top of the steel bar, it is going to be provided to the diaphragm on which you can apply the pressure. Now these 4 bonded wire strain gauge, how they are mounted on the steel bar. So you can observe that the one thing you will get that the difference between these 2 strain gauges, bonded wire strain gauges there. Out of that 4 bonded wire strain gauges, 2 bonded wire strain gauges are mounted on the steel bar vertically, and another 2 are mounted horizontally. Get it, my point? Okay. So in this way, total of 4 bonded wire strain gauges are used, and these bonded wire strain gauges are connected, always connected in a Wheatstone meter bridge. But now in this case, each side of a Wheatstone meter bridge is the bonded wire strain gauge. That's why we say that this is the special type of a construction which is used for the measurement of extremely heavy load. It's right. So if you try to read that very important sentence about that the load cell, it's a passive resistive type of a strain gauge is that. Is it right? It means that as it is consist of a strain gauges, bonded wire strain gauges, it means that applied force will change the resistance is there. Now see that the basic things. Now when the pressure or the weight is applied on the diaphragm, so this pressure will experienced by the steel bar, and as the bonded wire strain gauges are mounted on the steel bar, so this pressure will experienced by the bonded wire strain gauges. And according to the applied force or the weight on the diaphragm, the force will experienced by the steel bar and the bonded wire strain gauge. And based on that, these 4 bonded wire strain gauge either experience the compression or it will experience that extension here. And according to that, its resistance is going to be changed. Now, when I say that all these 4 bonded wire strain gauges, when they are connected in a Wheatstone meter bridge, it means that external energy source is required. Is it right? And from this point, we always take that output. So this here is the first bonded wire strain gauge. Here is the second. Here is the third. This one is a fourth. Initially, the bridge is in a balance, means that output voltage is 0. And now when the force is applied on that diaphragm, the force will expressed by the steel bar, and the same force will experienced by this 4 bonded wire strain gauge, and accordingly the resistance of that bonded wire strain gauge is going to be changed. It means that now the output voltage is not equal to 0. The certain value of voltage is developed. So this voltage is directly proportional to the applied force is there. So in this way, by using this 4 bonded wire strain gauges, you can measure, or this load cell will be helpful to measure that extremely heavy load is there. Get it, my point? So this is the basic principle behind the bonded wire strain gauges. So what you can summarize the point here, what you can sum up that the point here. Number 1, the bonded wire strain gauge is the application, sorry, the load cell is the application of a bonded wire strain gauge. Number 2, it is passive, resistive, electrical type of a transducer. Is it right? And number 3, it is used for the measurement of extremely heavy load. These 3 things are very important here. Get it, my point? And if you want to remember that, number 4, the 4 bonded wire strain gauges are used. So these are about the strain gauges. Is it right? And now we have to discuss about the next type of a transducer. We call it the thermocouple. I think it's a 5th type of a transducers are there. Out of that, we discussed that total 4 type of a transducers, and all are the passive type of a transducer. Now this one is the first one type of a transducer. We call it an active type of a transducer. Why we say that active? Because this thermocouple will measure the temperature. This temperature is the input parameter for the thermocouple, and it will be converted into the electrical signal. And that is nothing but our output type of a signal is that. Means the temperature is to be converted into proportional value of an electrical signal, and for that process, for the thermocouple, external energy source is not required. That's why it is called as an active type of a transducer. So very important thing is that thermocouple is active, temperature, electrical type of a transducer is that. This is a very important thing. Get it, my point? And now, what is the basic principle behind the thermocouple is there? So all of you please try to concentrate here. Let me try to explain. So the basic principle behind the thermocouple is, if you consider two different metal wires, if you consider 2 different metal wires. Now here I say that this is metal wire 1, and I say that 2 different metal wires. This is metal wire 2. Metal wire 2. Now when these 2 different metal, I say that different, not same metal. If the 2 different metal wires, when they are joined together, they are connected together so that the 2 junctions are formed. So here I say that this is a junction J1 and this is a junction J2. The 2 different metal wires, when they are connected together at the end, so that the 2 different junctions are formed. Here I say that junction J1 and junction J2. If the temperature of these 2 different junctions are different. Now suppose I say that temperature of junction J1, it's a T1, and the temperature of junction J2, it's a T2. If the junction temperatures are different, now I assume that different means I assume that T1 is greater than T2. Is it right? It means that the temperature of junction J1 is greater than the temperature of junction J2. So that time we say that as this is the higher temperature junction, that's why it is called as hot junction. And similarly, I say that this is a cold junction. बघा किती क्रायटेरिया मी इथं कन्सिडर केलेले आहेत. फर्स्ट क्रायटेरिया, two different metal wire. Second thing, two junctions are formed. I say that J1 and J2. Then third thing, the J1 having a temperature of T1 and J2 having a temperature of T2. Fourth thing, T1 is greater than the T2. These are the four criteria. And when these four criteria are fulfilled by the circuit, then it is observed that the electrons are always having a tendency to move from hot junction to the cold junction. And as the electrons will move from hot junction to the cold junction, because of the potential difference and in between these two junctions are there, it means that if you try to connect that the voltmeter in between that any 2 point in this circuit, then it is observed that due to the potential gradients between the two different junctions, the EMF is generated in that circuit. And this induced EMF is always directly proportional to the difference between the temperature in these two junctions are there. In this way, the temperature parameter, it can be generated that EMF in that circuit is there. This is the basic principle behind the thermocouple is there. Once again, please try to have a concentrate. When you consider the two different metal wire, joined it together to form the two junctions, and when the temperature of both the junctions are different, it means that the one junction is called as a hot junction, another junction is called as a cold junction, or you can call this cold junction as nothing but the reference junction, and hot junction we call it's a major junction. Get it, man? In this way also you can remember that. Then it is observed that the EMF is generated in these wire, and this induced EMF is directly proportional to the change in a temperature or the difference in a temperature of these two junctions are there. Get it, my friend? So this is the basic principle behind the thermocouple is there, and now you can try to read it. First sentence is very important. The thermocouple is active. कारण जर आता या पूर्ण एक्सप्लेनेशन मध्ये मी कधीतरी असा शब्द वापरला की that external energy source is required. No, I have not used this word. It means that actually that external energy source is not required for the thermocouple. That's why it is the active. And for what purpose? What is the application of the thermocouple? It is used for the measurement of a temperature. That's why the thermocouple, we call it an active temperature electrical transducer, because its output is an electrical voltage. And what the thing I have explained, this thing is put up by the three scientists, total three scientists. One is the Seebeck, another one is the Peltier, and the third one is the Thomson. And all these scientists have given their opinions, and that opinion we call it's a working principle behind the thermocouple is there. It means that the working of the thermocouple is based on these three effects. Now, what are these three effects? Try to read that. The first effect, we call it a Seebeck effect. The Seebeck effect states that when two different or unlike metals, पहिला criteria, two different or unlike metals joined together at two junctions, an electromotive force EMF is generated at the two junctions, The amount of EMF generated is a different for different combination of a metal. This is the first effect. Now listen that the second effect, we call it a Peltier effect. When two dissimilar metal, when two dissimilar metals are joined together to form two junctions, EMF is generated within the circuit due to different temperature. आता सीपेक न फक्त काय सांगितलं की दोन वेगवेगळे मेटल्स घ्या आणि त्याच्यामुळं दोन जंक्शन्स तयार होतील आणि ईएमएफ जनरेट होईल. पेल्टायर इफेक्ट न त्याच्यामध्ये थोडासा टेम्परेचरचा ऍडिंग केलेला आहे. When two dissimilar metals join together to form the two junctions, the EMF is generated in the circuit due to the different temperature of the two junctions are there. हा पॉइंट ऍड केलेला आहे. And the Thomson effect says that when two unlike metals joined together to form the two junctions, हा तर सगळ्या तिन्ही इफेक्ट साठी कॉमन क्रायटेरिया आहे. The potential exists within the circuit due to temperature gradient along the entire length of the conductors in the circuit is there. So these are the three effects, and the working principle of a thermocouple is based on these three effects. Most of the times, these are name of the effects. It may ask for MCQ type of a question. The working of a thermocouple is based on the options are given. First option, Seebeck effect. Second option, Peltier effect. Third option, Thomson effect. And fourth option, all of the above. So your answer should be all of the above, or whatever type of options are given, either out of these three, the one effect name is given in the MCQ type of question is that. So you have to remember that these are three names: Seebeck effect, Peltier effect, and the Thomson effect is that. And this is the diagram. See that if you observe that here A is a metal wire 1 and B is a metal wire 2. They are connected together so that junction J1 we call it a P, junction J2 we call it a Q. The temperature of junction J1 is a T1, temperature of junction J2 is a T2. T1 is greater than T2, so that T1 is called as a measuring junction or hot junction. T2 is called as a reference junction or cold junction. And now, as I say that the heat energy, as we know that T1 is greater, so due to the difference between this temperature gradient, if you connect that voltmeter, then it is observed that voltmeter shows the reading, certain reading, and it indicates that the EMF is generated in these two wire is there, or in this circuit is there. So based on that, which types of two metal wires are used? So here there are different metals are there. Either you can use nickel, aluminum, copper, chromal, iron, consonant, etc. There are so many metals are there, and depends upon which types of two different metal wires are used, the operating range of a thermocouple will be different, because the materials are different. It means that up to certain level of voltages they can read that the voltage here, or that EMF is there, or the temperature here. Get it my point? So this is the basic things about the thermocouple is there. Now it's my request to you all, if suppose due to the time constraint, if that the meeting will end automatically, please rejoin it fastly. Okay. And now I will try to show that one video. So with this video, you can try to understand the concept of the thermocouple very well. Okay. So please try to see that the video here.
This video presentation is represented by electrical4u.com, an online electrical engineering study site. Today's topic is laws of thermocouples. Let us take two dissimilar metals M1 and M2. One strip of metal M1 is shaped as you see here. Two smaller strips of metal M2 which are shaped as you see here. Now connect these three strips in the way as shown here. There are two bimetallic junctions formed. One is this one, and another is this one. Now this junction is heated by this candle flame, and this junction is immersed in this ice water. Now we will connect one sensitive multimeter, as shown here. You see, this meter is giving some reading. This is nothing but the voltage between these hot and cold junctions. Now if we increase the temperature of the hot junction, by increasing the intensity of the flame, we will see the reading of the multimeter also increases. This proves that the voltage between these two junctions is the function of temperature difference between them. A German physicist named Thomas Johann Seebeck has discovered this effect. His discovery is called the Seebeck effect, and it is the basis of all thermocouples. We have three different laws of thermoelectric circuits. These laws are known as law of homogeneous circuit, law of intermediate metals, and law of intermediate temperatures. The first law, homogeneous circuit, states that in a circuit composed of a single homogeneous metal, cannot generate an electric potential by the application of even sufficient temperature difference between two different points of the circuit. Here the temperature of this hot junction is